Hello and welcome back to XCOM2 War of the Chosen. That would be the catchy line for the beginning if we would have a mission. But this is not the mission. This is kind of the review of War of the Chosen. I've been asked to give my opinion on the game and come up to a summary. For those of you who don't want to listen through all of this, just read through the bullet points and then you would probably see what I like and what I mislike. I'll try to keep it to 10 minutes, so without further ado, let's jump right into it. I liked about War of the Chosen that the content that they integrated was absolutely phenomenal. I couldn't say how much I was impressed of how they integrated everything so seamlessly. It almost feels like the game should have been that way from the get-go. The new factions and the hero classes just felt so much more immersive and brought kind of liveliness into the game that I enjoyed. No longer are you the only one that is looking after defeating the aliens. You have other factions, and the idea of combining the in-game bonuses with the factions and their reputation or your interaction with the faction was just phenomenal. I enjoyed the hero classes a lot. The Reaper, the Skirmisher, and the Templar were good additions. I would say the positive part is they came up with something creative. They looked at community-built classes, came up with a pretty solid combination of what was out there. With the Reaper, they really filled a slot that hadn't been filled before. Absolutely great. With the Templar, I feel they have tried something that the Ranger, the melee Ranger, should have been before, and try to do that a little bit more conceptually sound. However, they took away a certain niche that the Ranger had as the melee Ranger, so that felt like content duplication. And the Skirmisher again fell into the whole Ranger niche of being like the frontliner. So in other words, if they would have taken away the Ranger or the Assault character class and just replaced it with Skirmisher and Templar, that probably would have been the smarter idea, because now you have a completely melee character and you have a complete mobile plus weapon focused character. But that's something that they can still like work on. The Chosens themselves, second large point that I find absolutely phenomenal, were memorable enemies. I've seen a lot of reviews after reading now through the content. After I finished the War of the Chosen, you could imagine I read up on a lot of things just to double check what I missed and what could have been done better. So I've seen a couple of comments that the Chosens did not feel very immersive and that end boss aliens shouldn't be that way. I couldn't contradict more. The Chosen felt like really well designed aliens. They felt like what the alien rulers should have been, and more so, I would have wished that there were a broader set of Chosens, maybe 10, and you get 3 per run, just to increase the rerunability, and also see that the aliens just have way more aces at their sleeve. They were stronger and better than the avatars. I think the avatars could have been replaced by the Chosens or made into a similar concept. I like the idea of how the game was also transparent about their strengths and weaknesses. So all of that was just on spot. The idea of rebirth was wonderful. The idea of extracting information was good. A little bit a lower grade would be the execution of them. Some of the Chosen simply had abilities that at the time when they appeared for the first time couldn't be countered. For instance, the melee samurai Chosen had a lot of abilities where she was simply not spotted out before it was almost too late. So I did not appreciate that all too much, but I think that's a minor detail. New aliens, Spectres, Purifier, Priests, just a short comment there. I like them. They were good additions. I think their skill sets that they had brought a nice livelihood to the breadth of the aliens, and I would wish that there were just a little bit more aliens overall. The Lost, wonderful. I personally am a fan of zombie topics. I think that the Chrysalids had way too less of a showing in XCOM 2. Special maps like the Newfoundland map in XCOM 1 was probably the single best map that I've ever played in any RPG ever, period. So it was just incredibly well done, and I would have wished that they would have probably used a little bit more a storyline around the Lost, and made them stronger, plus made them like more threatening. There was a little bit of a balancing issue because the Lost themselves also gave XP, so there was an inherent idea of let's kill as many as we can in order to level the characters faster. The new maps and the environment, next point, was enjoyable. I like the underground missions. I like the house part of it. It just felt like a city and not suburban, not always like a suburban environment. There's now really a big breadth of different environments, which I fully like. So thumbs up for that. There's nothing wrong. New mission types: the escape mission, the second defense mission for alien retaliation strikes, the new XCOM Avenger defense mission. All of them are good. I see that that's a good add-on. I haven't felt that the missions were repetitive. They could have looked into the old missions and fixed a couple of topics that were not okay there, but that will be on the bad side when we come there. Side trap as an idea, really good. I think they should have gone further with it. Side traps were too far and few, and I would have wished that once a side trap is triggered, all of your covered ops missions need to follow the same side trap. Elsewise, you can dodge them, and that kind of defeats the purpose of the idea in the first place. When I played with side trap, it was blast. I liked the 3-man side trap. I liked the maximum to sergeant side trap. That just made the whole situation a little bit more difficult. So thumbs up, really good idea. Fatigue system, probably one of the few features of Long War 2 that I actually really enjoyed. So that was simply very good, and it was a clever idea to adopt it. Full stop. Very good. Enhancement on the strategy layer. I like the idea that there's just more to do. Little bit of a criticism. It front loads the game even more. At the beginning, you have like hundreds of options. At the end of the game, there's nothing. The strategy layer is just barrenly empty, and the aliens just crumble in their corner, crying themselves deeply into sleep, whilst knowing that the XCOM forces have already defeated them. So the strategy layer in the later game needs some fixing, some serious fixing, but at the beginning it's just very good. The idea of covered ops mission, I enjoyed them. Another great feature. I like the idea of how to improve your characters outside of getting just GPSs and outside of getting enemy protocols once in a while. It was a good system. It felt a little bit grindy at times, but I don't mind. I mean, it's really fine. That being said, the resistance factions and their implementations, we talked about it. New factions, just very good. The implementation of the mechanics, very good. The new research events, probably one of the things that I wanted to highlight, is my favorite pieces. They increase the replayability. I really like the trade-off between going for something that is a permanent upgrade right now and therefore delaying vital upgrades and making the game harder, versus going for the quick fix and going with the research of, for instance, laser weapons or plasma weapons. That was good. I did enjoy that, and I think that should have been a core feature in any version of XCOM. The graphics and the customization, as well as the sound and environmental effects, were absolutely on spot. I enjoyed it, very immersive, wonderful. That's the good, and that alone is so good that the game cannot get less than 9 out of 10 or even 10 out of 10. That being said, however, there is also the bad and the ugly in the game. A couple of things that I personally did not enjoy. Not all of them have been found in the criticism from others, so some of them seem to be Syken specific. Number one, I did not like the challenge mode. That is probably consensus. They implemented a challenge mode where once per day you can go into this challenge mode. You look to defeat the same challenge, and then you get onto the ranking. Apparently, the challenges are A, not really hard, and B, the system of how to determine who is winning the challenge was a little bit flawed. Plus, loading the game just takes too long. So the whole system was a good idea, but the implementation was meh. Second bad thing, the bonds between soldiers and specifically their integration into the game. Boy, oh boy, did I suffer understanding who was bonded with whom. Why does it need to be so complicated? Why couldn't you just click mouse over a soldier and you directly get a highlight who his bondmate is? Why can't you just search and order the soldiers by bonds? Why does it need to be that complicated to even get into a bond? And so on and so forth. It was just a dilemma from the get-go. The bonds themselves are actually very, very strong, and I would say they make the game very playable. In some of the classes, actually extremely viable. So but that was fine. It's not the problem, but the integration was just clumpy. They need to definitely work on it. We talked about the implementation of side trips as well. Side trips are nice. They should make certain missions more difficult, but yet they fail to deliver on this. I'll skip the next point because that's my ending point. The next point, therefore, would be the restriction of the hero classes. The hero classes themselves were great. They were not stronger than the normal classes. I could say that maybe with the exception of the Reaper, all of the others were either arguably weaker than the normal classes, but yet they were restricted to one per hero class, and it's very difficult to even get a second one. I did not enjoy that at all. Full stop. That is an unnecessary limitation to an elsewise great feature. The hero classes should have been completely unlocked once the faction is unlocked and should have been trainable, but they failed to do that, and I think they took away a lot of the potential that the classes have with that. I was not impressed with a couple of the open issues that they haven't fixed. Since ages, the problem with the psionic characters and their inherent non-usability during the game, because you train and train and train and train and train and train, and like after a year in game, you are almost ready to then, with a Magister, go into the first missions. That was just bad, and the game design hasn't really worked on this. There were still a couple of game bugs. I encountered two in the run that I had. Wrong spawn points, wrong timers, sometimes flying in aliens. So not necessarily the nicest the nicest programming, but it is okay. The overall amount was not too destructive. The AI behavior could have been improved. Still the same very, very, very predictable behavior. In many of the videos of the run, I was predicting like with 100% accuracy what the AI was doing. And last but not least, the balancing of the items. I mean, seriously, you should have gotten feedback by now, and there are just a couple of items that are not good. They are not even not good, they just straight out suck. They are not even niche, they are just bad. And for me, that's not a great explanation. If items like a flashbang grenade are still usable until the very end, or normal grenades are still usable until the very end because they have a purpose in the game, then I would ask myself why certain items within the game, i.e. the mind shield, or just very bad armor, or just very, very bad ammunition, why they are even implemented in the game. I mean, they can be upgraded, and there are a lot of ideas out there for actually making some of the items better. I guess they should work on that. So, second last thing is unnecessary nerfs. for the black market. The black market itself was okay. Intel is anyways a scarce resource. Taking away the purchasing options for the black market actually was not a smart idea. You can no longer recruit via the black market, yet you recruit via other channels. I understand that, but still there are less options to buy via the black market, and I didn't appreciate that. There was also a little bit of geoscape, unnecessary clutter. The geoscape now apparently has a randomized connection between the different states on the Earth, which means in my case I started in North America and couldn't even fly to Mexico because for whatever reason Mexico was not attached to the United States anymore. So I needed to go via Europe, then Africa, then South America to then go into Mexico, which is ridiculous. So that's unnecessary. Last but not least, my single most problematic point with the whole game, and that's why it gets 9 out of 10 and not 10 out of 10 points as the expansion. I did not appreciate the game difficulty. That might be only Cyclone specific, but hear me out for 1 second. There are great features. Training your soldiers to become better. Good. Tick mark. Getting incredibly strong weapons from the 3 chosen ones. Also fine. Tick mark. Great. That's a wonderful character development potential. Giving everyone the option to unlock all of their abilities via the training center. Wow. Awesome. Something that we've been waiting for a long time. Great. You no longer have forced decision. In some cases, it's just so good to have a character, specifically the specialist, that has both of the path unlocked. Great. But what is the consequence out of it? The consequence logically is that your characters will deal more damage. Getting all of the upgrades for the weapon, every single weapon deals another 1 damage, and then you have a research breakthrough, another 1 damage. So the characters at the end are so incredibly strong due to having a wide variety of abilities, strong, very strong weapons to the point where it's getting ridiculously strong. They do have armor like the Icarus suit, which is just almost in itself game-breaking with its Icarus jump. So all of that has been implemented, and yet the enemies are not improving in power as well. It's the same sectopod, and I kill a sectopod with two of my soldiers nowadays because they are just so strong. The beginning of the game still is a struggle, but once you pass months 2, 3, and 4, and once you pass like this crucial point where things get a little bit crowdy, there is just no scaling in the end game. The aliens are completely and utterly overwhelmed. Neither the chosen ones pose the challenge, nor any of the aliens, nor the avatar, nor any combination of them. We've done a flawless, impossible, legendary Iron Man run, or impossible Iron Man. No, it's legendary. Impossible was XCOM1. So we've done a flawless legendary Iron Man run. 0 losses, 0 mission skip, everything played through, and the only 2 points where we were ever even close in losing a single unit, not the whole mission, but a single unit, was my first time that I walked into a sidetrap mission with 3 people, and B, the deliberate mission where we took only rookies, put on the worst equipment that we could find, and went into a mission where we like heads-on pulled 3 packs at the same time without any mimic beacons whatsoever, and we just like man-moded it and still came out on top. So what I'm trying to say here is I do understand that there needs to be like a difficulty curve, and I am deliberately speaking only about legendary Iron Man difficulty. On the highest difficulty, the game has become incredibly easy. I did not know anything about the game. I went in completely blind. I've done a shit ton of mistakes, and yet the game was not punishing any of that. At no point after we have managed to defeat the Doom Clock. At no point after that, the game was anywhere near to a problem. The Doom Clock at the end was at 1 or 0 throughout the whole time. 0 enemy facilities. The enemies didn't even do anything. We had like 2 missions per month. Nothing to research anymore. Even rookies were too strong for the normal missions, and the aliens had nothing that they could put in. So that was a suboptimal decision. And if you permanently increase the stats of the soldiers, if you give XCOM so many tools to play with, now logically they will become strong. Matter of fact, they will become so strong that they will overrun the aliens. I could have probably solo moded some of the missions with the sniper that I had. Maybe even solo moded some of the missions with the Reaper, due to the incredibly strong abilities of the Reaper and and its ability to stay in cover. So what I'm saying there is, there was no longer a balance between something that was like factually an even match between the aliens and XCOM. And I could come up with a lot of suggestions of how to nerf it, but quite frankly speaking, I would wish that they would make it a little bit more difficult. Good. That was the review of War of the Chosen. Please post in the section below. Do you agree with the points that I've made? Where they're just ramblings of a madman, or where do you see that I have maybe missed something? All right, with that, see you later, and bye-bye.